couple of area school districts announced COVID-19 protocols for the upcoming school year, and the new rules include masks. Columbus, Kansas voters approve a school bond. Tonight, reaction from school officials and more on what it means for the district.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Pittsburgh School Board releases plans for the coming school year, which include a mask requirement. This is KOAM News at 6. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the superintendent of schools and a parent about what we should expect.
As kids gear up to go back to school, virus concerns remain, which is why the Pittsburgh School Board made the decision to start the school year with COVID restrictions, requiring masks for students, staff, and visitors.
The masks, social distancing, making sure that we keep up with our sanitation procedures.
Pittsburgh Superintendent Richard Proffitt says this new guidance stems from increased cases in the area, along with the Delta variant, which seems to be infecting the younger population.
Anytime that you hear that a new variant could infect younger populations, and that is the population that we deal with the most and that is under our care on a daily basis, we're certainly going to set up and really take notice of it and be very vigilant in the mitigation strategies that we're going to use.
And this decision is putting Pittsburgh parents like India Hatton at ease.
This is a step in the right direction with reopening school for face-to-face learning.
Hatton has 2 children in the Pittsburgh school system and says she was worried about sending them back to in-person learning amid the current spread of COVID-19.
Having a lot of anxiety about sending my kids back.
Proffitt adds that they also have strategies for keeping kids safe while eating.
There are going to be some times where we're going to have the kids eat in their classrooms to be able to spread out. It's an unmasked time. We have some partitions that will go between students that they can see through, communicate, but doesn't allow the airborne variant to get from one person to another.
And when it comes to sports, things get a bit tricky.
It just depends. If you're on an outside sport, it's a little bit different outside. We will take the masks off when we're outside. When we're on the inside, when you're in the middle of a physically exerting activity, we're probably not going to require the mask, but everybody really needs to understand and know that there could be a risk.
The school board plans to keep these in place as long as needed to keep their students and staff safe. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The superintendent says more information about the upcoming school year will be available on their website. The Chanute, Kansas Public School District also releases its plans for dealing with COVID during the coming school year. For starters, that district will also say masks covering the mouth and nose will be worn at all times by students and staff in any school building. Visitors will not be allowed to participate in lunch. Temperature checks will be required for students and staff as they enter school buildings, and the district will have alternative learning for quarantined students. Voters approved more than $14 million in school renovations in Columbus, Kansas. The renovations include adding 4 new classrooms and safe rooms to the high school and Central Junior High. The superintendent says he was confident the community would back the plan and ultimately pass it.
Well, I think we had a really good plan that was reasonable, and that's what when I first came to the school district, this is my hometown, when I moved back, that's what I heard from a lot of people. They would support a bond, but they wanted it to be reasonable, and so that's what we put together.
Work on the high school is expected to be completed by the beginning of the 2022-2023 school year. Work at Central should finish by the start of the 2023 to 2024 school year. Checking in with Nick Kelly, the mild weather continues, Nick.
Something we don't get to say a lot during the month of August, Dow, but that's exactly what we had today. Even with some passing cloud cover throughout the day, some still out there at 6:04. Temperatures have been really good to us with not too bad humidity to go along with it. That being said, it is prompting a few showers right around Bella Vista and Bentonville, but that is about it as far as our rain chances go for this evening, while any organized rain and storms stay well out to the west. As far as temperatures go, again, looking pretty good. Maybe a lone 79 in Mount Vernon, but most of us in the low to mid 80s with the humidity in the mid 60s in dew point form. It's looking good for any outdoor plans as we continue to fall through the 70s at 8 o'clock, 72 by 10, 69 by midnight. Ultimately, now I see us dropping back to 67. We do have another warm day for tomorrow with maybe some rain chances to track, but we got to track returning heat and humidity as well. So like it or not, we'll break down those numbers here in a bit.
Catch you then. Still ahead, U.S. Congressman Billy Long of Missouri says he's vying for a new job. And an update on Medicaid enrollment numbers in Oklahoma following the voter-approved expansion of the program in the Sooner State. U.S. Congressman from Missouri Billy Long is vying for a new position. Long, who represents Southwest Missouri, announced yesterday he's running for U.S. Senate. The congressman joins a growing list of Republican candidates, including former Governor Eric Greitens and Mark McCloskey, the St. Louis lawyer who pled guilty to waving a gun at protesters last year. They're all looking to fill Senator Roy Blunt's seat. Blunt announced earlier this year he will not seek re-election. More than 154,000 Oklahomans have qualified for Medicaid under an expansion of the program approved by voters. That's according to the Oklahoma Health Care Authority. Of those, nearly 91,000 live in urban areas and about 63,000 in rural Oklahoma. About half are between 19 and 34 years old. Officials say they suspect many more Oklahomans are eligible for benefits but still need to apply. Oklahoma voters narrowly approved a constitutional amendment last year to expand eligibility for benefits. Kansas is reporting that its tax collections in July were 11% greater than expected. The State Department of Revenue says Kansas collected nearly $603 million in general tax revenues last year. Its official forecast predicted $543 million. The state revenue secretary says consumer spending on goods and services has not slowed down. But he added that department economists are watching to see whether a steady increase in new COVID-19 cases because of the Delta variant hurts the economy. The Missouri State Fair kicks off in 7 days in Sedalia, Missouri, and this year it has some pretty big names for guests. The Beach Boys are performing on August 18th at the grandstand. They're bringing with them the actor, part-time Beach Boy, and lead singer of Jesse and the Rippers, John Stamos. Also performing at the fair this year, Hank Williams Jr., Boyz II Men, and Trace Adkins. You can find more information on our website. Of course, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. Later, a Missouri doctor uses X-rays to show the difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated COVID-19 patients.
But first, I'm tracking a wave that could bring in some thunderstorm chances tomorrow, but the eventual return of the summer heat and humidity, that will also track up next. After the two passing fronts scrubbed out the heat and humidity on Saturday, it's left us with a pretty good start to the month of August so far. We've been in the 80s for highs since Sunday, and we keep on going with that trend, especially with 84 degrees, at least the last observed temperature at the hottest point in the afternoon from Joplin Regional yesterday. Dropping back into the lower 60s this morning, then another bounce back into the mid 80s. And while it would be nice to have these temperatures stick around, changes are coming. First and foremost, a wave upstairs wants to bring in some thunderstorm chances for Thursday, but the overall big trend is a changing upper weather setup leading to the heat not only returning by this weekend, but the humidity ready to ramp back up as well. In the meantime, though, there is some haze out there along with some partly sunny skies, but that's not a threatening sky, so we're looking good at 6:13 on this Wednesday evening. 83 in Joplin feels only like 85 thanks to dew points much more manageable than where they were last week and certainly back on Saturday. 80 in Monette and Greenfield to about 85 in Nowata and Independence, everybody else in the lower to middle 80s. But the humidity, it is rare to see dew points in the low to mid 60s during an August evening, an early August evening. That makes it perfect for any outdoor plans, as temperatures will still continue to look nice. 78 by 8 o'clock down to 70 by midnight. I do see us dropping back mainly into the upper 60s later on tonight with our next wave ready to try to shake things up as we go into tomorrow. In the short term, though, we don't have a whole lot to show you here. Maybe a couple showers in northwestern Arkansas, but most of us are dry, while any big rain or storms are staying out in far western Kansas near Goodland. At the surface, doesn't look like anything's on the way, certainly with high pressure sitting south of Chicago, but upstairs is what I'm keeping an eye on. Not only this upper ridge out in the west, ready to build back in, but this upper low. You see it parked right on top of South Dakota. That's going to continue to ride along the jet toward us tomorrow, and that's what will try to bring some scattered thunderstorm chances back into play. I don't see any of that happening for this evening, though, and to get your Thursday morning started, but clouds will be on the increase, so we'll say partly to mostly cloudy. Lows dropping back into the upper 60s. I can't rule out maybe a stray shower or two to start your Thursday morning out, but certainly as we go into the afternoon, as that wave passes close by, that's when we could see some scattered thunderstorms underneath partly sunny skies. At least it'll keep temperatures in check once again. No complaints about that. 67 in the morning, 80 by noon, highs are 84. With these scattered storms expected, we're not expecting these to be strong or severe, thankfully, but they could probably produce some moderate to heavy pockets of rain. I want to hold on to maybe a stray shower storm Friday morning, but we definitely got to trend warmer with highs in the upper 80s as we start to clear out by Friday. And then it's all about this upper ridge building back in throughout the weekend. I want to watch another wave by Sunday, though. While that could bring in some scattered storms on Sunday, it's mainly all about the heat and humidity with this upper ridge building back in over the next several days. So enjoy. The highs are 84 tomorrow and 89 on Friday, because as soon as we hit Saturday, we're back in the lower 90s, mid 90s Sunday and Monday, maybe some scattered storms on Sunday. But overall, the weekend's looking pretty dry. But look at next Wednesday, highs near 97 after we start at 77 Wednesday morning.
Highs of 97 are unpleasant, but really not unexpected this time of year.
It is August after all.
You bet. Thanks, Nick. Still ahead, a Missouri doctor shares the difference between how COVID-19 affects vaccinated patients versus how it affects unvaccinated patients. St. Louis doctor says a set of x-rays shows the difference getting vaccinated against COVID-19 can make. Justina Coronel reports.
Putting these x-rays side by side, you can see a distinction. So these are what unvaccinated COVID-19 lungs look like. If you see all the white here, that's the virus taking over. And if we take a look over here, this is what vaccinated COVID-19 lungs look like. All of that black means that the lungs are filled with air, and that's what lungs should look like.
The lungs are supposed to be full of air, and air on an x-ray looks black.
Dr. Ghassan Kamel is the director of the medical ICU at SLU Hospital. Most of his patients aren't inoculated. Here's an unvaccinated x-ray.
With the x-ray looking like that, they definitely at least would require oxygen, and sometimes they would require more than just oxygen. They might require the ventilator and being what we call intubated, on mechanical ventilation, sedated, and on basically life support.
Yet for the vaccinated one, they may not even need to go to a hospital. And if they do,
are not requiring ICU admission or mechanical ventilation or life support.
This vaccinated x-ray is a breakthrough case in which less than 1% of vaccinated people get COVID. And new data from the CDC shows vaccinated folks who get the virus can spread it as easily as unvaccinated people.
The vaccine protects you from getting really, really sick, but it doesn't protect you from passing it on to, your neighbors or your loved ones.
That's why the CDC came out again saying mask up.
Wearing a mask is important to try to get some control over this, so it's not crazy and overwhelming us.
Until we get to higher vaccine levels, Dr. Kamel hopes you can get the picture by looking at these x-ray photos and make a decision to protect yourself.
Arkansas is revving up COVID testing as infection rates surge across that state. One hospital in Little Rock administered about 500 tests Monday. That's up from an average of 380 tests per day the previous week. Workers there say it's important to get tested because early detection helps them to administer therapies that can reduce the chances of hospitalization. Experts say even people who have been vaccinated should get tested if they've been exposed to the virus or are showing symptoms. Nearly 1/4 of all patients at Cox Health in Springfield are COVID-19 patients. With about 175 COVID patients currently admitted, the latest numbers shed light on how the Delta variant will play out in the Ozarks. After breaking another record over the weekend, COVID inpatients are slightly lower at Cox this week, partly due to 14 deaths reported from Friday to Monday. The hospital president predicts the Springfield area will reach a peak soon due to vaccinations and temporary immunity. Reporter Bailey Stroll has more.
Some theorize that as rapidly as the spike goes up, it might go down, but we're not counting on that. We're preparing for numbers to keep growing, but hoping they don't.
Staff at Cox Health emotionally drained by the effects of the Delta variant. President Steve Edwards reports in the hospital's COVID-19 ICU, patients have just a 60% survival rate.
We care for all people, but when it's someone that's 90, it feels different than someone that's 40. Someone that comes in with tan lines from being at the lake and now they're on a ventilator.
Edwards says what's most alarming is the Delta's infection rate. With the original virus, every person infected on average infected about 2 other people.
With this variant, if it might be as high as 9, 6 generations of that is approaching 60,000. And so I've heard people say, well, I didn't get it the first time, so I think I'll be okay. And I think the lesson is if you didn't get the first time, you're going to get it this time.
He says the options now are vaccination or illness. Edwards says maybe the only advantage of being one of the first hotspots for the Delta is having quick access to staff and equipment.
Because we've been able to secure resources when there's been less competition for resources. Now hospitals are scrambling for support. I don't think they'll find many travelers because the demand for them is so high right now.
And as we look ahead, Cox Health says it's preparing to reach 220 COVID-19 patients this month.
And part of our thinking is if we get through this big peak, we still want to be prepared because other communities took care of our community. And we'd like to do the same for them if we must to help them because we owe it to the rest of the state.
Cox Health brought in an additional 250 staff. Edwards says it is not enough. Another 30 traveling nurses and 7 emergency-based physicians are now on their way to Springfield. Final check on the weather is next. Take time now to honor a local veteran machinist mate, Ray McBride. The Columbus, Kansas native served in the U.S. Navy, and we are proud to salute machinist mate Ray McBride. He's tonight's 4-state hero. Jordan Albee joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight at 9, going to have reaction to Missouri's Attorney General suing Kansas City over a new mask mandate there. Also, Target announcing the company is going to pay for workers' tuition, fees, and textbook costs during higher education. And would you try Flamin' Hot Cheetos ice cream? Yes? No? I'm going to tell you where you can get some if you want some. That, of course, much more coming your way tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Give you a hard maybe on that one. Thanks, Jordan. And Mattel has unveiled 6 new Barbie dolls to honor individuals leading the fight against COVID-19. These one-of-a-kind dolls feature the likeness of Amy O'Sullivan, a nurse who treated the first COVID-19 patient in Brooklyn and became ill herself. Dr. Audrey Sue Cruz, an Asian American physician who helped fight racial bias and discrimination. Professor Sarah Gilbert, who helped develop the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Dr. Jacqueline Gosta-Jesus, who led the genome sequencing of Brazil's COVID-19 variant, and Dr. Kirby White, who developed a doctor's gown that could be laundered and reused. The Barbie dolls are part of Mattel's Thank You Heroes program. The company also announced it was donating $5 for each doctor, nurse, and paramedic Barbie doll sold at Target. That money is going to be donated to the First Responders Children's Foundation.
A great gesture from Mattel.
Obviously, there have been lots and lots of heroes responding to this pandemic, and in many ways, it's nice that a handful of them there at least are
Absolutely.
honored. The weather pretty nice at the moment, Nick.
Yeah, we'll keep things nice for this evening. Warm temperatures turning mild overnight as we drop back into the upper 60s. I'm thinking highs are 84 tomorrow. Most of us dry, but we'll watch for some scattered storms late Thursday going into Friday morning. But as soon as we hit the weekend now, still August, so the heat and humidity, they'll have to return.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.